Okay, my previous video came out pretty well except for all that darn autofocus noise. So I'm going to try this in manual focus and hope it works out. What I want to talk about is how I tie my shoes. This is something I've been talking about a lot since I learned in college. And I've taught a lot of people this. Now I want to teach a few more on YouTube. So first I want to start off with what an overhand knot is. This is an overhand knot. I can combine two overhand knots in two different ways. One of them will add up to a square knot like this. This is a square knot. Notice how what's called the standing part and the working end are together on each side. And notice how I can do this. Now, don't believe for a minute that a square knot is some kind of wonderful, magical knot. It's not. It's not even a very good knot. And it should only be used for bindings. But as it happens, it's relevant to how we tie our shoes. Basically, let me show you the other way. So the other way would be like this. This is what's called a granny knot. Notice how now the standing part and the working end are not together. And they're not together on either side. And this knot tends to come undone more easily than the square knot. And by the way, that's basically what you're doing when you tie your shoes. The only difference is that when you tie your shoes, and this is not how I do it, but when you tie your shoes, you use loops in the second overhand knot so that it can be untied easily. You know, you have this, see, this is just a complicated looking square knot here. And, oh, I hate this rope. This rope is too stiff and too slippery. But anyway, you know, you have these loops that you can, you can pull and untie your knot. Okay, let me move on to my shoe. So, the reason I bring that up is because, well, let me show you what I do first. This is how I tie my shoe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. I just tied it 6 times. Now, I'll show you in slow motion. Basically, all I'm doing is I let the string hang over these two fingers. I let the string hang over these two fingers, although I approach from the rear on one hand and from the front on the other. And then I look to grab the working end and I pull. Now for control, I use these 3 fingers. I have a line here, put 2 fingers on one side of the line, 2 fingers on the other, twist in, pinch the working ends, done. I find this faster and easier, and what excited me about this is just the thought that, wow, if there's room for improvement in this very simple task, which I've done 1,000 times, then just think, what other aspects of my life bear improvement. So anyway, because now I always do the second part the same way, and because I always do it the same way, I paid attention to how I would have to do the first portion in order to be making a square knot. It so happens that for me, that first overhand knot should be left over right. If it's left over right, then I'm making a square knot. Now I don't know if you can tell. I don't know if you can see what's going on down here, but I can see that I'm making a square knot. So, if you please, if it pleases you, learn how to do this and pay attention to how you're doing it so that you can always make a square knot with loops rather than a granny knot with loops. And then your shoes ought to stay tied a little better. So that's it. Thank you very much.